I want to get into Kevin Cash yesterday. Now, Speedy, Tyler Harrison, and a bunch of very big Kevin Cash fans think he's one of the best managers in baseball.
He's the most creative manager in baseball.
Everybody thinks he's one of the great managers in baseball. Well, yesterday, it cost the Tampa Bay Rays a World Series championship. I have no idea. Now, we've seen Aaron Boone did this with different players over the last couple of years. We've seen him in the playoffs. We saw him this year taking out, putting in J.A. Happ over Garcia, which made absolutely no sense after he gave up 2 home runs. The game wasn't even over. It was early in the game. It made no sense why they took out a kid that you think could be your ace in the future.
Chapman, as early as it did in Game 6.
Made no sense.
Game 5.
Okay, and I know you like to make fun of him, but Kevin Cash cost the Tampa Bay Rays a championship. Absolutely did. Blake Snell was pitching as well as we've seen him all season long. He was dominant. There was no way the Dodgers were hitting him. They hit him twice in almost 6.5 innings. And I understand you trust your bullpen, and that's grand. I understand how talented your bullpen is. You've been amongst the league's top 3 in bullpen statistics, in WHIP and ERAs and wins per strikeout or whatever the heck it is, the numbers, the WAR. But what you saw yesterday was a guy that overthinks everything he does. And you cannot overthink yourself when your team is involved with winning a World Series championship, where you beat the New York Yankees. Yes, the New York Yankee team that a lot of people didn't think was going to be beaten by even the Dodgers, okay? And you beat a Houston Astros team that was playing as well as any team going into the ALCS. But what you saw was a rookie in a World Series. A rookie. And you could say whatever you want. You could shake your head. What are you talking about, Earl? He is a rookie as a manager. He has never managed in a World Series. Never. Okay? You put yourself in harm's way when you're playing a guy that has been in a World Series. A matter of fact, he's been in 3 of them. Mm-hmm. And he was a player in 1 of them or 2 of them.
2 of them, I think, yeah.
Okay? This guy knows he's lost those big games. He's lost those games that you would think that he should have won.
Oh, yeah. Plenty of times.
But what I think of managing in baseball is the same thing I think that everybody talks about Aaron Boone all the time, saying that he is not a competent manager in baseball. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to make bad calls. And people are going to prosecute you after the game. Now, Kevin Cash, he's going to have a lot to prove next year because this Tampa Bay Ray team is going to be probably not as good as they were last year. Why? Because they're probably going to lose some players. They're not going to be able to afford players. Other teams are going to look at free agents from their team, and they're going to bring them in. They can't afford it, and they're going to have to look for the next guy up. That's what the Rays do. When you look at Kevin Cash, you have to call him the GOAT in this game. And I'm not talking about the GOAT, the greatest of all time. The GOAT where he should be wearing the bell at the end of the game. He should be putting his head between his legs because he screwed up. He should have never took out Blake Snell. Never.
Now, again, I wouldn't have done it either at the time because he only had 73 pitches. But at the same time, Snell is not a length pitcher either. So even if he was going to be able to finish the inning, I mean, how much more was he going to be able to go, though, too, is the other question. Because he's never a guy that consistently goes that kind of length.
Oh, I'm so sick and tired of the statistics and analytics. Here's the thing. There were 60 games this season. How many times did Blake Snell get on the mound? 10? How many times does he average every single year, even with injury? Between 20 and 25. That means he probably pitched 10 less games than he did the year before. You are not going to take your best, your ace, your number 1 guy out of the game when he was dominant. He was striking out the side. He was making, you couldn't even see, how many times did you see a fly ball? I mean, the guy was dominant. He was untouchable. He could have pitched all 9 innings, I think. That's how good he was. And when you look at analytics, you cannot judge the game by analytics when there's 60 games in a season. It made no sense. I was laughing. I was laughing at the game. I was dozing off, but I was laughing. And I was saying I was dozing off because I was tired last night. I'm just telling you the truth. But Kevin Cash cost his team a championship. He did. And you want to make shots, you want to take shots, you'll make fun of Aaron Boone and how bad Aaron Boone was. Aaron Boone never did that in a World Series. He's never been in a World Series, but he never did that in a World Series. So until he does it in a World Series, you can't honestly sit here and tell me again. Now, you would look at what Tampa Bay has done with a $35 million payroll. I understand. You're going to probably argue that. And you played the Dodger team that was probably has the biggest payroll in baseball. Okay? That's fine. But everybody wants to give this guy credit when they get there. And then when he makes a mistake, they don't want to take shots at him. This is a guy that made a huge mistake, cost his team an opportunity to go to Game 7. And I'll tell you this right now. If they went to a Game 7, they would have beaten the Dodgers. I absolutely believe it.
They had Morton pitching, very possible.
And I'll take back what I said in the last show, because I thought if it went to a Game 7, the Dodgers win. I just was thinking about it after the show, and I really, if I thought it was going, I would go to the team that has the less pressure. I would take the team that has the least amount of pressure.
Right. Now, again, the other thing to factor in too is even if they let Snell finish the inning like he did, how efficient would he have been is the other question.
I don't know, and you can't judge that. Listen, you die with your ace. I mean, you ride on your ace, you die with your ace. That's the way I believe in. Why do you have ace? Why do you have an ace? Why do you call him an ace? Because he's your shutdown guy. He's your guy that you're going to put all the marbles on when you need him. And knowing that your bullpen has been stagnant ever since the Houston series, and let's be honest, they were stagnant in the Houston series. They were not as dominant as they were against the Yankees. They were creaming the Yankees. They were killing the Yankees. The Yankees could not hit their bullpen. They couldn't touch their bullpen. They were hitting their starters, not touching the bullpen.
Right.
Okay? So when you watched them against Houston, I said, uh-oh. And then you're looking in this series. Early in the series, you saw the Dodgers. They were hitting against the bullpen.
Yeah, that's why you didn't see a lot of Castillo after, I think, Game 3 or whenever he struggled. You saw him come out of the bullpen in the 6th inning a lot of the time, and that's why that Cash decided to switch it up to either Fairbanks or Anderson whenever that came into effect. But obviously Anderson did not have it in that game. He threw a wild pitch.
Did he not have it?
Yeah.
I mean, he was lost. He was absolutely lost.
I think he threw like 60% of his pitches were balls, and he had obviously the wild pitch to tie the game, and even a lot of the contact was hard too, so that did not show when. And Fairbanks struggled right after that, so yeah, they just didn't have it at that point. When you don't trust somebody like Castillo, that makes it very hard too.
It's hard, it really is, and you could go back and forth, and you can argue your points on this and that, and obviously thinking that Kevin Cash is going to take the brunt of this, moving throughout the offseason. Listen, the Tampa Bay Rays will figure things out. They'll decide on. He will be the manager next year. He's one of the best managers in baseball. There's no question that he is. But I'm so sick and tired of listening to all these guys like the Harrisons, like you, Speedy, saying, "Oh, Aaron Boone is terrible in the big game. He doesn't understand what he's doing. He has no background. He does this. He's in that." I hear this all the time. Kevin Cash proved just what a rookie manager does in a big game.
All right, let's not put me on the extreme of Aaron Boone hatred as Tyler, though.
No, but it just...
I have Aaron Boone as a top 10 manager to me. He's just not top 5 like a lot of people think.
I think he's a top 5. I do. I think he's a top 5. I'm not going to say Aaron Boone he doesn't make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. We all make mistakes. Right. We're human.
Yeah, Terry Francona and Joe Madden, probably the 2 best managers in baseball. They make mistakes.
Everybody makes mistakes, but last night that was a mistake that cost them the Tampa Bay Rays a championship. And I do believe they would have won last night if Blake Snell stayed on the mound. I really do.
So how long do you think he would have gone? You think he would have gone
8 innings?
You think he would have gone 8 innings?
Yeah, I think it would have went 8 innings, and then they would have pulled in their 2 guys, their 8th and 9th inning guys, and ended it. I think that's what would have made more sense. And I don't think the Dodgers were hitting him. I just didn't see it. I don't think they were going to hit him. I just think Blake, when a pitcher just has it that night, you see it. We've seen Clayton Kershaw years and years ago have it. We've seen Matt Scherzer, he has it. You saw when Garrett Cole was on the mound against Cleveland, against who was the kid that Bieber, and he threw 13 strikeouts. Right. You knew Garrett Cole had it that night. You knew he was on it. There was no way anybody was touching him. He was going to win. no matter what. And they were hitting against Bieber.
Speaking of Kershaw, major props to him, too, for finally showing up in the World Series, too. 2 great starts for him.
Oh, yeah.
Finally got over his postseason yips.
Well, I never believed he had yips. I just think there was a lot of pressure on him because when you're one of the most talented teams in baseball, and you've been the best pitcher in all of professional baseball for the last 20 years. And I'm sorry, as good as Max Scherzer and Verlander has been, Clayton Kershaw, go look at his numbers in his first 10 seasons. I mean, Sandy Koufax didn't have numbers like this. Okay, that you're talking about the greatest. Some people say the greatest pitcher of all time, and then you look at his numbers to Clayton Kershaw, and he's got better numbers than Sandy Koufax
And better longevity too.
Yeah, so I'm just speaking the thoughts of what you see analytics and how analytics stand out even in those days. So. Clayton Kershaw has been the best pitcher. He's a Hall of Famer. He's going to if he retired tomorrow, the next day, or the next, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. You know, this is the most dominant pitcher in baseball. He deserves it.
Absolutely.
I was very happy for him. Out of all the guys that were hoisting that championship trophy up yesterday, it was Clayton Kershaw, that the smile that he had, because if he were to retire tomorrow, or he retires after this year because of his back and his neck injury, he could say he won a championship. And he was a big part of winning that championship.
Absolutely. And you wonder, and it's cool, too, seeing him win it where I think about a half hour for where he grew up, too, in North Texas. He grew up, I think, at the same high school as Matthew Stafford, too. I forget the name of the school, but he grew up around there.
Him and Matthew Stafford are best friends.
Yeah, and I think that maybe that's something else that made him comfortable, too, in terms of the environment of that.
Quiet,
of that
no
park.
crowds, you know, maybe the less pressure. A lot of people say it's less pressure. Who cares?
Well, and maybe also, again,
who cares?
The comfort of pitching in that type of climate that you're used to where close to where you're home. You don't have to worry about like the outside noise and stuff like that. He's used to that kind of thing, just living close to there too, and I think that really helped him.
You cannot take it away for what he has done in this playoff. Go look at his numbers. I mean, pick up his numbers. What is his numbers in the playoffs this year? I think he had 3 wins in the playoffs, 3 or 4 wins in the playoffs. I think he had 1 loss. His ERA was 2.53 or something of that magnitude. I mean, Speedy, you almost there? You found it? I just trying to get numbers here.
Yeah, if he only had he only had 1 bad start, which was against the Braves, and that was it. So definitely possible. Yeah, 4-1, 2.93 ERA in this postseason. 5 games started, 0.91 whip,
0, yeah,
37 strikeouts, and 30.2 innings pitched. So yeah,
is that not dominant? I mean, seriously, 40 innings pitched. 40 innings pitched. This is a 32, 33-year-old pitcher that's had back problems, neck problems, elbow problems, shoulder problems, and he has been the most electrifying top-end pitcher ace that we have talked about in the last 25 years.
Absolutely.
Really, since Greg Maddux. You want to compare Greg Maddux dominated that era, and I would say Clayton Kershaw dominated this era.
Right. I think he's been the best pitcher in baseball probably from when I think 2008 probably to I would say 17 or something like that, and he's still very good today as well. So he's definitely a first.
Made a lot of money, that's for sure.
No doubt about that.
Yeah, the 2 big contracts, almost $300 million. He made more than A-Rod did as a pitcher in baseball. But he also started very young. He was He came out into baseball at like 20, 21 years old.
I think, 21 years old.
He was a baby.
Sure, yeah.
And I remember Joe Torre, when he took over the team, he says, "This is the best pitcher I've ever coached. I've ever managed." I remember him saying that. He's like, he's flawless. His pitches, his off-speed, his curveball is the best I've ever seen. I mean, this is Joe Torre, who had some of the greatest pitchers. He managed some of the greatest pitchers of all time. You're talking about Roger Clemens, David Wells, got winners, Jimmy Key. I mean, these guys were winners. We can go up and down some of the Hall of Famers, and he says he's the best pitcher he's ever seen. So it's an incredible feat, and like I said, Clayton Kershaw has nothing else to prove. Nothing. He doesn't have to prove any more that he can pitch in a play. 4-1. I mean, he can pitch in the playoffs.
Yeah, that one bad start against the Braves, Game 4. That was it.
He can pitch in the playoffs. That's all I'm going to say about it.